I just came across some of the paintings, some of the Catholic paintings of Salvador Dali, and looked up like a 45-minute lecture on his work and his relationship to Catholicism. And in it, I saw my former self. I saw my pre-conversion spirituality that sought, the universal patterns and everything, and found them in Taoism, in Buddhism, Hinduism, and even in Christianity to a certain extent. But you can see in Dali's art and in his philosophy that he is missing what is special and unique about Catholicism and about Jesus Christ. And I'm going to use a couple of his works to explain exactly how that is evident and what those differences are. Because if you, when I was like a perennialist, when I believed in the kind of all religions are paths up the same mountain kind of a thing, I did not understand this. So I'm gonna point this out. The first is when you look at Dali's depictions of the crucifixion, he shows Jesus as a hero, which is good. He is a hero. But he shows him not suffering. He shows him kind of in a state of ecstasy. He shows him without any wounds on his body. He shows him with a very beautiful, kind of flawless skinned body. And he shows him kind of hovering sometimes instead of nailed to the cross. He basically strips Jesus of the suffering. And he sees himself as a reactionary that's doing something different in order to sort of shed new light on the heroism of Jesus. But what he's missing is that Jesus made suffering divine. It was the suffering that was the heroism, not merely that he died. And not merely that he died for us, but that he suffered. He wasn't just God dying perfectly for us. He lowered himself to this point of suffering and stitched together the worst things a human being can experience with the best, with union with God, with identity with the divine in a certain real sense. And so you can see that both in Dali's depictions of the crucifixion and in the depiction of the Last Supper, where Dali shows Jesus in this beautiful kind of movie star kind of appearance, and he shows his body as transparent or translucent. You can kind of see through Jesus's body. And this again points to the fact that Dali didn't understand the Incarnation. Dali didn't understand that whereas through Buddhism and Taoism and various mystical traditions, you can find the unity of incredible opposites, and you can find a sense of mystical union with God and things like that. That Jesus brought the highest things to the lowest place, thereby sanctifying the lowest things, sanctifying suffering, sanctifying the body, and giving Christians, all people really, but Christians in a unique way, the ability to sanctify their own suffering and to make these things which are still low for us, to imbue them with the divine power and qualities that Jesus brought to suffering. So the physicality of Jesus is unique in that, and it's so incredibly important, especially at the Last Supper, where he's talking about, this is my body broken for you. He's not saying this is my body, which is kind of here and kind of not. You can see through it, it's kind of transparent and mystical. No, that is a very sort of perennially informed, perennialist informed view of like the mystical Christ or the cosmic Christ. But the whole point of the Incarnation was to make God physical and limited and small and not cosmic and not mystical, and thereby tying the mystical together with the physical. And only Jesus, only an incarnation of God can do this. Lastly, well, I'll just stop there. I think that might. Oh yeah, okay. So I remember. I was going to say that Chesterton in Orthodoxy, Chesterton would have said what I am saying a lot more articulate. Wow, talk about a word to mess up. Chesterton would have said this a lot better than I am. And so what he would say reminds me of a passage that he wrote in Orthodoxy. In Orthodoxy, he points out that if you look at a human being, you look at the body, we have 2 hands, 2 feet, they're symmetrical, they're mirror of each other. Our faces are symmetrical, basically. We have an eye on each side, we have a nostril on each side, mouth is in the middle, ear on each side, we're symmetrical. So if you're an alien looking at a human for the first time, and someone asked you, all right, where is the human heart? And what does it look like? The alien would probably guess, well, it's symmetrically shaped and it's right in the middle. But it's not. It's weirdly shaped and it's off to one side. And Chesterton uses this as a metaphor for the Catholic religion. That yes, you can see the symmetry and beauty reflected in Taoism and Buddhism and Hinduism and all these other religions. You can see the same symmetry, the same patterns of mystical reality reflected in all those. But only in Christianity do you see God incarnate suffering in this particular way. And he, in doing so, in being weird, in having human parents, Jesus does something that is a little oddly shaped and off to the side. In becoming bread and wine, and turning bread and wine into himself for us, he does something a little oddly shaped and off to the side. And there are a million examples of this, but it is Catholicism's weirdness that is evidence of its excellence, and I mean that in the sense of excelling, and its excellence of other religions in depth. It goes to a place where others cannot go, and the weird shape of it is evidence of that, and it is the picture of that. It fits into deeper recesses of the heart and of the human condition, like a key has to be weirdly shaped to get into a lock. And that's honestly how it felt to me. It felt so perfectly shaped that it had to be a weird shape. It felt unique and weird, and even better than all the symmetries that I had appreciated in trying to synthesize other religions to my taste in the past. So I just got all of that from a couple of lectures on Dali's Catholic paintings, which seem to reveal that he didn't really get it. He didn't really get the suffering of Christ, and he didn't really get the incarnation of Christ. He didn't really get what was special about Catholicism compared to all the other religions.